going on, guys? Sam Adams here, and it appears that the summer drought is finally drawing to a close, because after a couple of weeks of some pretty bad editions of the drop, I mean, I made them pretty entertaining, I will say. I did pretty good. I'll give myself a little golf clap there, but the games themselves weren't that great. We are finally getting one of the most anticipated games of the entire year, which is, of course, No Man's Sky. And then on top of that, a pretty good indie that is included with the Play 2016 program going on PlayStation, if you were interested in that. And then a pretty classic car game comes to the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. We'll talk about that one too. All of that right here on the drop. So to start things off, we have No Man's Sky coming to the PlayStation 4 and the PC this week. Now, the release date for this game is a little bit split up. On the PlayStation 4, you can pick up the game on August the 9th. On the PC, you can get the game August the 12th. But if you have an eBay account and a couple of $1,000s, you might be able to find a copy early. Because people already did and, told us a lot about the game, which I was kind of mad about. Anyways, all of that's beside the point. The game is coming out this week, so what exactly is it? Pretty much No Man's Sky is where you discover new planets, you land on these planets and find all of these new kinds of life, all of these new landscapes, mountains, bushes, trees, all this good stuff, and then you gather the resources that you do find. And once you've gathered these resources, you pretty much take them and you buy new equipment, new kinds of ships, new kinds of suits and whatnot to help you kind of explore the galaxy as you continue wandering around this giant universe that Hello Games has created. And then, of course, you shoot some stuff along the way, whatever you might find on the planets. If you run into any other characters and whatnot, you pretty much just have to protect yourself while you are on your adventures towards the center of the galaxy and beyond. Now, supposedly it takes 5 billion years for someone to see everything that No Man's Sky has to offer, but realistically I would say you can get at least a couple of 100 hours of gameplay out of No Man's Sky without seeing the same thing twice, so that is a pretty cool achievement. Is that, cycle of grinding, finding new planets, trading stuff for resources, etc., is it going to get boring? Probably at some point, but it's definitely going to be a game that I think people do come back to time after time, and it's going to be a great game for streaming, just because people are going to be able to find new things every time they play, and I think that definitely lends itself to that kind of atmosphere. Now, I do want to make it very clear that there is a huge Day 1 patch that significantly changes the game. I'm going to go ahead and call it what it is. Sean Murray and Hello Games have come out and said that this Day 1 patch is a completely different kind of experience, and it does make the universe quite a bit bigger. So for those of you that saw the gameplay footage that was leaked a couple of weeks ago, for those that have been reading everything they possibly can about No Man's Sky and hear that the game might take about 30 hours to get to the center of the universe if you do take a lot of shortcuts, that very well might change with its release, so we'll just have to wait and see how big this game actually is after this Day 1 patch. So is No Man's Sky going to be the game that we all hope and expect it to be after so many years of anticipation and so much build-up? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not really sure. I do hope the best for it. I think it's going to be one of the best games on the PlayStation 4 for at least 2016, if not for the entire life cycle of the console itself. And I'll probably be playing it on PC at some point. If it's going to be one of the games that I buy during the launch week, not really sure, but I guarantee you it's going to be a pretty impressive game for at least a couple of months after its release. And it is coming out this week on August the 9th and August the 12th on PS4 and PC. So next up we have a game by the name of Brutl, and that is spelled B-R-U-T@L, and that's for a good reason, because of the art style of the game. It's pretty much modeled after a classic kind of gaming experience by the name of the American Standard Code for Information Interchange. It's a way that people use to make games by using this kind of coding that pretty much use numbers and letters to create the actual graphics of the game, and it looks pretty cool if you want to look at some old gameplay footage like this right here. I like the way that looks, and I'm glad to see it kind of living on in this game that's coming out this week on the PlayStation 4. So this is another procedurally generated game, but it does have 26 complete levels in it. So you're going to be playing through 26 levels before you get to pretty much the end of the game, which is the Guardian of the Dungeon. That is the final boss you're going to be completing. But to switch things up, there are 4 different classes or characters that you can choose from, including Range, Mage, Warrior, or Amazon. Very interesting names, not the kind of thing that you would actually expect, but the art style is really where this game shines through. But that's not to say that's all it has to offer. There are interesting weapons and crafting and different kinds of potions that you can brew that are also procedurally generated, so you don't really know what you're making every time. I'm not really sure what was up with that. I'm not really sure if that was a good decision on the side of the developer, but this is a game that is definitely going to keep things fresh for a good amount of time just because of the randomness of the entire experience, even though there is that core, gameplay that you're going to be learning and getting used to as you do play the game. Now, another thing that I liked about this game is the way the devs decided to describe the co-op. They wanted to bring back that classic stay up all night with your friends kind of experience that I'm pretty sure we all have some kind of experience with from the past, and they definitely did that. Pretty much you can take on all 26 levels cooperatively, but if one of you dies, the other person has to kind of, put the team on its back, and finish out that level before you can actually revive your partner. So it's a pretty interesting kind of co-op, and I think it definitely does hold a spot for that local co-op experience. If you did have a friend come over, if you wanted to play with a family member, brother, sister, it's a pretty cool thing to have in your game, especially one like this. So there's also a dungeon creator actually included within the game that lets you come up with anything your imagination can think of and play with your friends, and also share it so that other players can actually experience what you've come up with. It's always a good thing to have included within the game, and it definitely does add a little bit of life to the game, especially for hardcore fans that want to see what crazy levels they can actually come up with. So as far as Play 2016 goes, Brutl is definitely my second favorite game. I loved the way Headlander looked, and I love the studios behind Headlander, but Brutl looks to be pretty cool, and the developers are definitely really cool people. You can reach out to them on Twitter. They're all pretty chill guys, so to speak, but you can do that if you want. Definitely check out the game on the PlayStation 4 this week, and remember, those of you that have PlayStation Plus, you can get the game 20% off if you do choose to pre-order it, but definitely watch some gameplay videos beforehand, because you never know if you're not going to like a game until it does come out. So that's just, a pointer from me. So last and least, we have Uno coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC for fans of classic card games. Now, if you aren't familiar with how the game actually works, it pretty much matches colors with colors and numbers with numbers, and if you don't have either of those, or if you really wanted to trick up your opponents, you can throw in a play action card and kind of switch up the game, and then whenever you get down to one card, you can, see what you can do with it. Pretty cool stuff. You have to yell out Uno, etc., stuff like that. Now, what exactly does this edition of the game have to offer? Why should you play it digitally instead of, with actual live family members? Number one, there are 4 new cards included with this version of the game that kind of change up the rules a little bit. Number 2, there are themes that actually change up how the cards and the game itself looks, including a Rabbids theme. We're all familiar with the Rabbids, the little gummy bear looking things that you have, etc., all that good stuff. And then on top of that, there is also actual webcam compatibility, meaning that especially if you're playing it on PC, excuse me. I'm not sure if it works on PS4 with the camera or Xbox One with Kinect. I don't know how all of that works, but supposedly there's going to be voice chat and video chat. I have a feeling that's going to be patched out shortly after its release, because there's definitely going to be some kind of 43-year-old fat dude sitting in his mother's basement naked playing Uno with a whole bunch of kids, because that's pretty much the main audience that this game is shooting for. Let's be honest here, 43-year-old fat guys that love Uno and small children. So that is coming out this week on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. However, if you own one of these 3 machines, I would recommend something like Halo 5, something like Rainbow Six Siege, something like Fallout 4, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Any of these other games are probably going to be better than Uno, so definitely check out those before you jump into the card game sensation that's sweeping the nation. But if you are a hardcore fan of Uno, or perhaps a fat dude in a basement, or a small child, you might want to check out Uno. That's coming out on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC this week. So there you guys have it. I hope you have enjoyed this edition of The Drop. If you did, drop me a like down below and let me know what games you are picking up this week, if anything. Have you really been looking forward to No Man's Sky, or are you the hardest hardcore fan of Uno and you have been waiting for this for years? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you happen to be new to the channel, or you've never seen any of my other content, I do upload new stuff like 3 or 4 days a week depending on the week, and I stream live on Twitch whenever I can. And of course, links for all of my stuff are in the description box down below. But as for right now, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching this particular video. I'll talk to you soon.